CreaseCast.
Welcome, everybody. It's a live edition. I don't know why Lachlan decided to have audio playing. I can see that's why he's confused right now.
What do you mean I'm confused?
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. That's not Lachlan. That's Jamie, our third host, who you cannot see on the video, who is teleconferencing in from somewhere in California. She pulled over on the side of the highway to talk about actual news. Can you believe it, folks?
Yes, she did.
We actually
Jamie.
have some finality on the JT Miller. Will they, won't they? Jamie, how are you doing?
Horrible.
Okay, wait. Is that your just reaction to the trade or the extension?
Oh, just like in general, but like for the signing of JT Miller, I'm scared.
Okay, well, do you know any of the details on the contract, Jamie, or you just know he's back?
I think it's like 7 years for $8 million.
Okay, so you know the details. All right. Well, first off,
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. I'm gonna do a little something for everyone out there who is probably at work, really upset or really happy right now, because I, like a lot of people, was ready for their long weekend, just kind of doing their own thing, thinking about, how nice it is and beautiful, doing stuff with your cool dog. But nope, we're inside on a gorgeous Friday to talk about JT Miller finally getting extended, cracking one open for all of our writer and podcast homies out there who, unfortunately, are probably inside as well, recording an emergency episode.
Whoa! Wow! Crazy.
I shouldn't judge because we were gonna do the same thing, and I was like, let's just do it live. That way, I can crack Vizzies open, and people can track how inebriated I get as I discuss this monumental occasion.
Yeah. And so here's what we're going to do for starters, because Jamie is literally in the middle of Los Angeles right now, and you can hear the AC just blasting in the back of the car. I think because literally she's driving. So I think we're just going to go let's give Jamie literally just the room to say whatever, and just so she doesn't waste her aunt's minutes here.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
All right, Jamie, do it. Go.
Oh, do what? What do you want me to say?
You just summarize your thoughts, like how you feel. Yeah. How do you...
I think it's a lot of money and a lot of term that we probably won't get back, but that's fine. That's how we roll,
So
no,
you don't like the deal, but you're fine with it because you like JT Miller.
JT Miller's fine.
Okay.
I don't think he'll produce the way he did last season, though. I hope he does, because that's a lot to ride on for just one season. But
that's true.
It's what are you gonna do, right? I guess.
Sometimes you just gotta make the leap of faith sometimes a little bit, huh? Like that's at least kind of what
that's literally what our team does.
They have been doing that for a while.
Yeah.
We need to take the leap of faith by trading Nick Bonino for Brandon Sutter. They've done that quite a few times.
Maybe they'll have to do that now because
you have no money.
Now they don't have money, which is
none.
Quite the decision to make after an off season in which you basically spend the entire time telling people that you didn't make the moves you thought you could because of the money that you have allocated to your cap. Bit of a bold decision, but I do understand why they did it, right? Because I, like you and Jamie, all heard this talk about how as soon as the season started, JT Miller and his camp were not going to do contract talks. So it makes sense that the decision would be either we trade him or extend him right now before the season or training camp begins. Guy just had a baby. He's not going to fly out to Vancouver to find out he's been traded. That would be quite the bad look. But I, like Jamie, I'm like, what are you guys doing? Why are you spending this money?
Yeah.
Dude.
Dude is the appropriate reaction. It's just like,
that was basically what my reaction was. It was just like at first. So my first reaction was quite literally, it was, This has to be fake, right? Like it's showing up because I have the little list of like Canucks like accounts and stuff that I follow that are like the insiders, the official account and whatnot, just so I don't get got by like a new Mr. Booth account or something, right?
You got anyways, bro.
Okay, in the group chat does not count. That does not count. In the office chat, that does not count. It's only counts if you post it live as like, oh my god, wow. That was like, once I saw that it was the actual account, I'm like, oh my god, and I just immediately sent it to you guys, particularly because there had been absolutely no rumors of that happening today. Like, which is kind of shocking for the Canucks in itself. Just the fact that they had this deal happen without I don't think even like Elliot Friedman or like McKenzie or Drager, I don't think any of them had news on this today, or Kevin Weeks in his traveling.
Coming at you live from the laundry room.
I was going to say, Jamie, can you see Kevin Weeks pulled over on the highway right now?
No, I cannot.
Dang, too bad.
Yeah, I think he's in New Jersey though. So
this is Kevin Weeks from the Great Wall of China, or he's like, or this is Kevin Weeks on the Virgin Galactic flight to Mars.
That sounds pretty cool.
That'd actually be very cool. That'd be a very cool way to announce a trade. He should do that.
Yeah, I'm obviously like probably millions of people right now. I'm actually shocked Cap Friendly hasn't gone down from the amount of traffic they're receiving.
Oh god.
But right now, Vancouver Canucks, they're not hurting next year terribly. Looks like 14 million in cap space as it stands, but that is with having to now extend or do something with Bo Horvat, Andrei Kuzmenko, and I guess Luke Shen, Travis Dermott too, and I think was the other RFA, Niels Hoglander.
My favorite.
Your favorite. You're obviously, Jamie, you had a rough offseason with the Colorado Avalanche, even though they won the cup. They basically shed everyone that you like. The Vancouver Canucks shed everybody you like. So it wasn't great in terms of managing people that you enjoy watching. So next season could be a repeat. Maybe if the Canucks win the cup, you're a little satisfied.
It'll still be a repeat. It'll still be a repeat. Yep.
That's true. You would. I know you're the type that would say
the worst time.
I would rather these garbage players on my roster than a Stanley Cup. I believe you've actually put that in our chat.
Yeah.
You are pro losing and pro good guys.
I don't know.
You don't know? I know you are.
Who knows?
Okay.
Honestly, it's fine.
It's fine. What a way to sum it up.
Fine. That's fine. I've been through it this year. Next year it'll just be disappointment, but I will be more prepared.
That's true.
Never get attached. It's like that one guy in that really famous movie said, once you name it, you start getting attached to it. I believe that was Mike Wazowski in Monsters Inc., a wonderful movie.
I've never heard of it.
Oh no! Oh, it's really good. It's by these up and comers called Pixar. They're not bad.
He's so old.
Pixel Place. Okay, that's cool.
You are so old, Cody.
Like Adam Sandler's Pixels or something. Same idea.
Yes, that is exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, excellent. Well, I'll have to check them out. That sounds very fun.
Hubert said that, I think, in the movie.
So what are we thinking, fam? Obviously a 7-year extension for a 29-year-old, like this, or 8 years, sorry, or whatever the fuck it is. Takes him till he's 37, I think I read. It's a long time. That's, a big commitment for a team that doesn't necessarily have like a competitive window open as it stands. Like they pushed pretty hard to almost make playoffs, but they're still not really there. What do we think happens here? Do we think the window it obviously is opened on paper with this deal, but what's going to happen here? How many years do we think this deal will actually be good for, given where the team is at right now?
Well, I'll start with the pros of this contract, which is the fact that like the way that the forwards are structured right now, like I was looking at the depth chart the other day, like not knowing that this extension was coming down, just looking at the groups of the actual the wings in particular, which had been kind of lean over the last few years. Like last year we were talking about, hey, the Canucks finally have like 3 lines that could be legitimate scoring lines. It didn't end up working out exactly that way at the beginning, but then later on they kind of turned into what we thought they'd be in the early going. But now, like, you look at the roster right now, as far as the forwards are concerned, and honestly, it's hard to find a real, like an Achilles heel in that group. Like overall, if yeah, maybe Jason Dickinson won't potentially be, is maybe like the one of the players that you look at as like, maybe a bit of a weaker link there. But overall, like there isn't a part of it's not like in years past where there was very much, all right, there's these two very good lines and then these two not very good lines. Now you're actually looking at a group where every single unit has the ability to potentially be like have a big impact on the game, particularly in the offensive zone, which is huge. And having Miller along for that is fantastic. The only downside of it right now is, again, they can't really fix anything on the right side of D. They're stuck now. This is the roster now, unless they make another shocking move and like trade somebody before the season starts. This is the roster. These are the Vancouver Canucks for 2022-23. I don't think we're going to see much deviation from that. Even like Alex Chason was talking about how he still wants to play for the Canucks. I don't think there's not really room for him. Like there's not really any room for him, especially now with the extension. Like there wasn't really room before, and there definitely isn't now. So it definitely puts them in a bit of a tough spot, but clearly they want to win. Clearly they want to win right now, and they feel that they can, even with the kind of the weaker side on the weaker right side.
I'm just gonna shout out the chat because we got some chatters. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We appreciate it. I'm going to probably mispronounce this, so my bad. From Hazok, my mom's excited. Her favorite player is back, at least. Glad that's the bar.
That is good. That is good. Good for your mom. That's awesome.
I agree. Like, JT Miller makes the Canucks fun to watch because, like, when he's having off nights, he's, like, raging. He's slamming his stick. He's swearing as loud as anyone can hear in the arena. He is, like, just a character. So it's like, this is great for, like, personality reasons. Like I'm always fine with like extending him because like he's just fun to watch, and I think he improves the team from like a connection level. Like if he wasn't there, like it's just a bunch of monotonous people who like aren't really engaging personalities. But then you have JT Miller, who's this firecracker of like the ultimate like roller coaster of ups and downs. He's either up and he's scoring 4 points a night like on the power play and just like having the best time, or he's having the worst time and it's still really entertaining. And so I'm all for that. So yeah, shout out to your mom. Glad her favorite player is back. You know, go get her a jersey, you know?
Yeah. And like, even from like a pure hockey standpoint, like it's no doubt that JT Miller makes your team better and is clearly a good player. Like there's that's not in question.
Yes.
Offensively, that's not like even being questioned. I mean, he scored 99 points last year. In a season that, again, they looked terrible for the first 2 months. He still managed to put up a 99-point year, which is like, yeah, it's not easy. That's not easy in any way, shape, or form to do.
A lot of players did do it last year, though.
I mean, last year I think there was a larger amount than normal, but even still, it's like you're looking at the names and it's still guys like Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. It's still a pretty, like, Nathan McKinnon. It's still a really elite list. Like there's like guys like who just jumped in, like Nazem Kadri, who's now got his big payday from Calgary. Do you think that affected it at all? Like this extension, like Kadri getting done, how that did that impact the way that this kind of shook out? Do you think?
I'm sure it did bring Miller's price down a bit because Nazem Kadri is like a better two-way player. You know, like JT Miller is like very much an offensive heavy player. His defensive game is like, that's not why you're signing him to a big extension. So part of the reason why the extension concerns me is that if his scoring rate like dips back to, you know, regular levels, like his pre last season levels, are you still happy paying $8 million for a guy that's like, you know, 60, 70 points? Because that's still good. That's really good.
Yeah.
But when you're paying $8 million, you'd really hope that he's closer to the 99-point guy than he is what he was before, but there's no guarantee that happens again. So
you're paying superstar money for a guy who might be only just a very good first liner, like, which is, you know, that seems like not a huge deal, but like but it can matter a lot when, say, if you get the opportunity to pay a guy that kind of money, or like you need that kind of money for a guy like Elias Pettersson, obviously. Like if Pettersson turns out to be a guy who's regularly scoring 99 points a year plus, like and suddenly that number that Miller's at is going to be part of that negotiation as well, because you're going to be able to be like, well, they're paying JT so-and-so amount of money. So I'm going to need to I need to make more than that. Cause if that ends up happening, it definitely it's definitely shocking to see that kind of a change overall, and like to see them kind of go from essentially saying that they were going to move him. Like it seemed pretty darn clear they were going to move him for a large part of this offseason. And even when they didn't, it still was like, there still didn't seem to be much talk coming out of that camp that they were going to get something done, because it seemed like the number was just going to be too high.
Yeah, it did seem like kind of like I mean, obviously it's like negotiating and posturing, right? So they're going to come out and be like, oh yeah, we don't need him. We don't need to extend him or whatever. And I'm sure a lot of this was timing. Like you said, like the Kadri extension comes in, Huberdeau's extension comes in, and both Calgary. So you're kind of like, okay, maybe they'll use that to leverage it and be like, look, you're not nearly as good as Huberdeau defensively. You're not, as engaged defensively as that some Kadri. But like, we know you can do what you can do, and you're good at power play stuff. So how about 7? We'll go really long with you. You won't get this long of a contract anywhere else. Have they announced if there is trade protection on this deal?
I was just going to say, David Pagnotta at the fourth period says JT Miller's new 7-year, $56 million extension with Vancouver includes a full no move clause with a limited no trade clause in the last 3 years of the deal.
Oh,
so that's something.
You kidding?
I am not kidding.
For an $8 million contract. Oh my God, man.
How much does that change things?
By the way, folks, Jamie left, so we're not talking over her. She's actually legitimately left. She's not involved in the podcast. Yeah, she was literally pulled over on the highway.
Yeah, she's literally on the not only just the highway, the Los Angeles area highway. So
which I believe has a lot of cars on it.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe you might be right on that. Yeah, so just to recap here, essentially, the first 4 years of that deal have a full no move. The last 3 have a limited no trade.
Okay, first things first. Contracts like this almost always have no trade clause protection of some kind. So like, it's not shocking, but a part of me is like at some point that's going to have to change down the road, because I don't know how you could be looking at what they're dealing with right now, like with Oliver Ekman-Larsson's deal and his no trade, with Tyler Myers, like all these guys that Jim Benning signed that have trade protection on it. Like, I can't believe part of you isn't like trying to whittle that down a bit and be like, look, when you're 36 or 37, we need the ability to move you to an Arizona or to I guess they won't be Arizona by then. They'll be like Bangor, Maine, maybe Houston, literally any place other than Arizona. Or
they'll still be playing in the 5,000 seat building.
Okay, we're going to detour a bit here.
Just slight detour.
Could you imagine if they don't get an actual arena and they're still playing in that fucking arena after like 2 years or whatever? And Cody, the league is just like, oh, that's fine.
Cody,
totally normal.
This is the National Hockey League, a $1 billion organization with a history of doing silly things. Of course, they'll still be in the 5,000 seat building. No,
I have one answer for that, and you know what it is?
What? Oh, there you go. There it is. You heard that.
That's what it is.
There, that nice Vizzy. Honestly, I just want to, I hope they get that arena done just so we can stop talking about it. Cause I really want to stop talking about the Coyotes, and we're not going to do that for the rest of the show now.
That's true. We won't do that.
It's over now.
I will say it is nice that, as much as like I disagree with the justification of extending a JT Miller, or the money that's involved with signing JT Miller, I should clarify as, I am grateful that it's done with.
Yes,
because
very true.
man, like I always have sympathy for hockey writers, podcasters, radio people, because it must be just absolutely exhausting talking about the same points of will they, won't they sign or trade JT Miller, and then all they do is get shit on by fans listening in for being negative or whatever it is, simply because they're obligated to talk about the only major story going on with the team. Now, moving forward, it's going to be what do they do with Bo Horvat? Which,
Yeah,
a bit of a yikes. He's
that
their
is a bit of
captain. They do have cap space to work with, but when
yeah.
you look beyond Bo Horvat, you're looking at Elias Pettersson's extension. And
Again,
if he is performing at the rate with which he was scoring at the end of this season, he is going to be a very, very, very expensive man.
yeah.
Which, again, we criticized the Oliver Ekman-Larsson trade over and over for how it limited their ability to extend both Horvat and Miller if they so choose to. And now they're in a position again where that Oliver Ekman-Larsson deal and now a JT Miller deal are going to impact whether or not they can sign their captain.
Yeah.
Bit sus, bit not great.
It's a bit so that's actually brings up a really good question. Like, let's say the Canucks didn't make the OEL trade at all, and that cap was on, and that contract was just off the books. Would you feel a lot better about this contract right now if literally that only the Oliver Ekman-Larsson contract was not on the table anymore?
Man, like if that deal isn't on the books, like you're not even questioning it. You're like, yeah, extend JT Miller for 8 years at $90 bajillion. Like, who cares? Like you don't have two anchors on your blue line.
Yeah. It's amazing how much literally that one decision changes a lot about this. Because yeah, like again, if they have that room to maneuver, then it gives them so much more opportunity to bring in other players, especially in fixing that right side. So so literally that one contract, which is, I think, technically more, he's technically making, am I wrong? No, it's like a little bit more, or JT Miller makes more, it will make more because of the 8 million. It's like that's a huge amount of money that's suddenly freed up for a Bo Horvat, for an Elias Pettersson extension. It's like, and again, it's not Oliver Ekman-Larsson's fault at all that he's on that sort of a contract. It's it's just the matter of, well, this is kind of what happens when the previous management team kind of gets into the habit of trying to win now, but in a way that's not really proactive and that really helps you too much. Like this contract, again, if the Canucks were more solidified in their Stanley Cup window, yeah, we wouldn't question the JT Miller extension at all. We'd be like, yeah, of course you do this. This is the best. This is a perfect contract for what you're going for. It's literally just because there are so many other bad contracts on the books that they are stuck with right now that you're like, you're a little bit worried about how this affects you down the line. And if there's even enough talent, particularly back on defense, to get far in the playoffs with the great forwards that you have right now.
Okay. So thank you to viewer Riley Miner. Check out their Twitch stream when Riley is streaming their hockey games. I love to hit the chat up, critique their goaltending positioning, their whether or not they have good stances or not. David Quadrelli will understand what I'm talking about when it comes to the 3 stances.
Oh, but I won't.
They pointed out a tweet from a ex employee of the Vancouver Canucks, one that was recently ousted, and that is Chris Gear, who is their former AGM and the man in charge of contracts. My congrats to Millsy. A big deal and a baby. Good guy and a hell of a player. Those worrying about the 7-year term are the same ones that would complain if the team didn't compete. The cap will go up. The team just signed its best player, and $8 million ain't bad. Just relax and enjoy. Mr. Gear. Mr. Gear, I have some thoughts on this. That he is not their best player, even close.
I mean, like, it's one of those like, if you're just looking at the points, you're like, I mean, I guess technically I gotta give it to you, but also not really.
If the logic is the team just signed its best player that didn't have a contract, I'd be like, maybe. You can still make an argument that Bo Horvat's more consistent. He has the track record of being like a 30 goal scorer over his career, and JT Miller finally did when he was 26. So even the qualifiers, you're not even calling him their best player. Sure, he's really good on the power play, but come on, man. $8 million is bad. Have you heard, thank you, Riley. Have you heard of our Lord and Savior, Elias Pettersson? The fuck are you talking about, man?
Yeah, it's one of those, you could make, it's one of those literally, it's kind of, I hesitate to be he is wrong, but it's one of those things where it's okay, yeah, I guess if you're looking at the fact that he was the top scorer the last I guess, has he been the top scorer the last 3 years in a row? He has been, I think, or not?
No, he wasn't the top scorer in the bubble year because he sucked ass. Remember, because he was super dejected and playing pissed off, and he wasn't scoring.
The 2021 year, you're right. He wasn't.
Yeah, remember he was playing so poorly that the fan base was ready to say, "Get the fuck off the team." He has a shitty attitude. He has one uptick year, and everyone's like, "Yeah, give him all the money." Woo!
It's one of those but obviously you're Elias Pettersson is 100% going to be your best player down the line. He had a couple rough years here, but you saw how hot he was at the end of the season. How much
he was better than Miller. He was better than everyone on the team. He's the only reason why they were even remotely competing.
The best players down that stretch there, Miller was still good the entire time, but when it came to stealing a couple wins that they had to, besides the goaltending, there was definitely a huge impact from Pettersson. Horvat was scoring at a really good pace down the stretch there, but Colson was having some pretty good games. Not saying all of those guys are better than JT Miller, but Elias Pettersson at the very least is a guy where you're well, he's the face of your franchise, and he's going to be your best player for years to come if you're playing your cards right. And if if everything goes according to plan, he should be your best player and your highest paid player down the line. So it is kind of he's not gonna, maybe he's their best player just based on last year, but down the stretch, you hope that he's not. You would hope that JT Miller is not your best player, and that's not because you don't want him to be good. It's because you're hoping that Elias Pettersson and did he say best player? Did he say best player period? So Quinn Hughes also would like a word with that one. That's also worth noting. And Demko, again, for God's sakes.
Again, the qualifier here would have to be they just signed their best player who didn't have an extension. And it's even then you could make the argument that's not true.
Yeah, it's a high I would assume he's being a little hyperbolic, but also
I don't think so, man, because he ends the tweet being doing the shit that I fucking hate from people in authority in this region, where they are immediately dismissive of anyone that has a concern. Just relax and enjoy, which is the ultimate it's the ultimate stop whining and just watch hockey. It's like the I watch hockey and you don't argument, or oh, I played the game and you didn't, so your opinion is invalid. And it's dude, when you were in charge of contracts for those brief periods of times, your fucking team sucked shit and hampered the team for fucking years. You can't be oh, the new regime signed a $56 million contract. Just relax and enjoy it, bro. And then what is this other thing? The same people that would complain if the team didn't compete or whatever, or the same people that are complaining about the deal are the same people that would complain if they didn't compete. It's that's not fucking true. Not a single person ever complains that they're not competing. They complain that the team in charge can't build a team that is good. Yeah, those are two different things. No person is at home going, wow, this team can't compete. What a bunch of bums. Yeah, no, they're why can't they build a better team?
Yeah,
why are they icing such a shitty team?
It's not like it was never like the comparison we always like that generally comes up is guys like Jay Beagle, right? Where it's like it was never Jay Beagle's fault that he couldn't be more than Jay Beagle. Like he's just who he is. He plays to a certain level. And it's not like where everyone was looking like, oh, he's lazy, he doesn't try. It's like, well, no, he's just Jay Beagle being asked to be a lot more than
it's just
Jay Beagle.
It's just
and that's not his fault.
This team historically like placing an emphasis on overpaying for what people are and thinking it's going to be anything more than that. Like to my point earlier, if JT Miller falls off, right, and he isn't shooting at 14% and he only scores 13 goals and 46 points and none of them are at 5v5, that is not good for $8 million fucking dollars. Yeah. It's not, especially when the guy doesn't play defense. When you're like the Huberdeau deal is going to age terribly because it's $10 million until the guy's like 38. But you know what? The guy plays defense and he scores. He does both. So if his scoring regresses, you're still a good chance he's going to be a good defensive player. Or inversely, if his defense slips, he's still going to be a good offensive player because they're going to put him in positions to succeed on their power play. So it's going to work out. If his offense doesn't succeed for JT, you're not going to be like, oh, don't worry, he's going to be a Selke candidate. Because he's never been one. And he's not going to start now that he knows after this season, he's got $8 million waiting for him. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
And that he has $8 million worth of scoring to live up to, which is, that's going to be a big focus, right? Like, I mean, like, obviously when you secure the bag, you're fine. But like, it's one of those things where, like, obviously there's going to be the pressure on him now to score like an $8 million man. And that's going to impact probably a little bit of like, just like individual decisions on like, in the way that he plays in his own end. Like maybe he's just not going to, he might dig a little bit farther back into, he might not necessarily go into the boards at the end of the ice to try and like win a puck battle or per se every single time, right? Because he has to be focused on, I have to score a bunch, and that's not on him. That's just how it is. That's just how it always goes with these kinds of players, with this kinds of like contract, right? It's a lot to live up to. It's a lot of pressure on a guy.
I want to point out a thread from former Canucks Army contributor and former Toronto Maple Leafs analyst Cam Sharon. He had a little thread where he was like, I might dive into some video later. While I don't like the length of the Miller contract, selfishly, I'm happy that we get to watch that Canucks 5-man power play unit operate again together, which is true.
That's a perfect response, I would say. That's a pretty good, accurate description there.
He goes on, Miller, Horvat, Besser were so effective near the net. Now the bad. Miller isn't a particularly efficient 5v5 scorer. While Horvat finished a lot of Miller setups on the power play, Miller was just 52nd in 5v5 points rate. That's a minimum of 400 minutes last season. That's concerning, especially if Horvat's 5v4 shooting percentage dips. Over the last 3 seasons, Miller is 40th in 5v5 points rate per natural stat trick. Having a good power play is nice, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the Canucks power play scheme is solid. They use the middle of the ice a lot, and less that Miller is that elite. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're relying on a good scheme rather than the fact that Miller is elite. So I hear that and I go, oh, great. So they're relying heavily on a power play scheme that, is probably going to be run back again because, as many have pointed out, it's the exact same lineup again this year. Basically no difference except maybe Andrei Kuzmenko's a top 6 forward and your bottom 6 looks slightly different.
And maybe Ilya Mikheyev picks up like a little bit helps you a lot on your bottom 6.
Yeah, maybe. But effectively, you're just like subbing out like old guys for new guys who do essentially the exact same thing that you want. So if he's 40th in 5v5 points rate over the last 3 years, $8 million is not exactly encouraging that suddenly he's going to bump up that rate when he was a 99-point guy.
Yeah. And to be fair, 40th is still like the 40 is out of a lot of players. Like there's a lot, like being the 40th best in the NHL is not nothing. It's just not necessarily good enough for a guy who's the guy out to get paid like a friend, like you're like a top 10 or a top 20.
There's probably like, like 70 players making more than 8 million, more than 7.5 or whatever. Maybe about that. So you're like, okay, of the 70 people making more than $7.5 million, he's in the bottom part of it for 5v5 scoring rate.
And that includes defensemen probably, which is also crucial.
Yeah.
And goalies.
That
list includes Sergei Bobrovsky. Yeah. There you go.
I put it in our chat a while ago, but I did podcast cheat on CreaseCast a couple nights ago because I was like, you know what? I had to go on C4 because I'd ghosted them pretty hard for a while accidentally. Like I didn't ghost them, but like schedules weren't working, so it started to feel like I was, but I wasn't. Trust me, Anna and Chris, I wasn't ghosting. Just I'm a very busy person. Okay, so I was on there like literally like the other day, and I was like, I don't think JT Miller's going anywhere. Like I just don't, and I was right. So I'm very smart, clearly.
Good. We were so worried.
I know you were particularly worried about this, right? Part of me was just kind of like wondering, like, I actually completely forgot my point.
Well, what? Yeah, I was like, where is this going? This is just you patting yourself.
This actually,
on the
back. This is actually just me wanting to talk about.
The bottom line is, I'm great.
The bottom line is, I'm a really intelligent person, and I know things.
More.
Okay. You're sassing me a bit here, and I don't like it.
Always.
No, I actually completely forgot my point. I read a tweet that was all ironically. As I was gassing myself up, I read a tweet that was also gassing myself up, and I just completely forgot everything I was about to make, or the points I was about to make. So I was like,
"Good lord,
whoops!"
As if your ego can't get any bigger.
No, you know that community GIF where it's like the heart or the ego swelling until it blows up. That's basically every episode of this show.
You look like Ryan. Has anyone told you look like Ryan Seacrest? Yeah, that's exactly.
You're more handsome than the guy that's famous for being handsome.
Being handsome, yeah, exactly. I think I know the point you were trying to make, which was that, you know, this is again, it's the overall contract itself is not it's not that you can't put that kind of money into a guy like JT Miller necessarily. It's just that the way that the timing is working out, and the fact that, again, what the Canucks really needed more than anything because of how much time they spent investing in the forwards during the offseason, is they really could have used a scenario where they move him for some help on that right side. Like, there was really a lot of hope that they could get something done, particularly like the names like John Marino who at the time was on the Penguins, later the Devils, was an option. Damon Severson, who I believe is related to you, also on the Devils. And then like Noah Dobson was for a while still an RFA without a contract. Like, those were the kinds of, and the Islanders were a team who desperately need some help offensively. Like, it seemed like there could be a fit there. Like, there were a lot of scenarios where making a trade for JT Miller could, while maybe it would hurt the Canucks in the very short term of like a season or two, overall the hope was that the amount of the forwards that you have already and that you had just signed during the offseason would make up the difference quickly and would get you to a point where it wouldn't matter that you would let those 99 points go. They'd found a way to replicate it with a new group and by committee. And now that's just not an option. You have to hope that he can replicate that, because there's not going to be much room for, I guess, not improvement. There will be room for improvement for sure, but eventually you're going to hit a peak. You're going to hit a peak with that forward group, and the defense on that right side especially doesn't have the ability to back it up right now, especially if the offense ever goes dry. You're in a position where you're going to have to rely fully on Thatcher Demko, which they did for large parts of last season, and which is okay, which should work out okay. But it's the defense that you're worried about. It's the fact that, if that offense dries up, your defense is outside of Quinn Hughes is probably not going to be able to pick up the pace and play to that and like help make up the difference there. You're going to really have to rely on everything to fire correctly for you the entire year. And that's not even talking about injuries, talking about dry spells on special teams. It can go south. One thing could send things a little bit tumbling if you're not careful.
Well, yeah, like if you look at last year too, you're like, okay, Demko went down at the end of the year, and they were relying on Halak, who was completely checked out, and Spencer Martin, who was fine, but like, are they really banking on a guy with 3 games of NHL experience to be a bona fide backup to take them to the playoffs?
Like if Demko gets hurt, like, yeah, there's not, you can't, it'd be another thing if you had a defense capable of insulating a goalie like Spencer Martin, who will be learning on the fly a lot this year. It's another thing when you're going to have to be like, all right, you're the last line of defense and there's not going to be much help for you. So you better win every single game the way you did last year.
Yeah. Hey, Spencer, remember
the Oilers?
Remember last year when you faced 190 shots in 3 games? We need you to do that again.
970 or like a 950.
Yeah.
Like, we need you to be better than Igor Shesterkin. That is your goal.
Can you do that for 37 games straight?
Yeah.
Because we don't want to put Artur Silovs or Colin Delia in the net because we got nothing else. Like,
yeah, because they're still because they're not ready yet. You're as ready as you can be.
How Canucks hockey is it that even still with a new regime, the plan appears to be hope absolutely everything shakes right, and that is enough. Like that's what this feels like. It's just like, look, he almost hit 100 points. He's still got a year left on his deal. He's not going to negotiate with us. So rather than lose him for nothing, we're going to sign him to a giant extension and hope, he just repeats.
Tweet from Harmon Dial. I'm told JT Miller's contract is relatively front-loaded in structure and has over $20 million in signing bonuses.
Oh, okay. So this is okay. You know what that tells me?
There you go.
You know exactly what this is then? This is a Francesco Aquilini deal. This is him being like,
really?
This is 100%. If it's front-loaded, this is Francesco Aquilini being like, I love this guy. I want him a part of my team.
Interesting.
This is like, whenever
that's something very different to me, but like
whenever a contract comes together and it's like it's bonus heavy, it's a guy whose name you just know Francesco Aquilini had something to do with it, where he was like, I know that guy, I fucking love him. Like Tyler Myers' deal was the same thing. It's like, I know who that is. I want him on my team. He helps us win. Let me play NHL GM, and GM's in charge, go, yes, sir. No problem. And he gets his way. Frankie always gets his way. And JT Miller, props to him. Like I said earlier, like he fucking rules. But it's just like, it's really kind of disappointing that like with a new regime, you would hope there'd be some sort of plan in place. And it's weird that like after an off season of very little activity, the first major move they do is like blowing up their cap situation again. Like the team just took on OEL. Like they still have that on the books. Myers is still like another year away, I think, from being off the books. And he's like, whatever at this point. Like you're getting a lot of minutes, but like he's not good. Tucker Pullman's on the books and he sucks. He sucks ass and he makes a lot of money. Frankly. Poor guy. Like, I hope he's like, okay.
His fault.
It's not his fault. Like, it's like a terrible concussion or whatever, but like, he absolutely did not deserve a like $8 or $10 million contract after 0 points in 97 games or whatever. Like, that's just like, speaking of Chris Gear, what the fuck are you doing saying just like put your head down and be happy and enjoy when you're signing these moronic deals?
I mean, to be fair, I don't think he'd be saying that about the Tucker Pullman contract. Like Tucker Pullman, he's going to be great, guys.
Didn't he have a tweet in the summer where he was just like, he critiqued like some minor deal? Like, didn't he critique the Mikheyev deal? And then like everyone like hit him up like, bro, you signed Tucker Pullman? Like, shut the fuck up.
Oh, did he have like
he had like some like marginal critique
of the Mikheyev thing? Because the Mikheyev
I think it was him,
like, I think for what it could possibly be is honestly a fine contract. Like, I don't think there's anything particularly like, it's maybe a little higher than it's worth, but it's not like it's impossible that he can't like, that he's going to get a better opportunity here in Vancouver and bring it to make it worth that level. It's more just about, it's about you paid $5 million and you only had so much left. And then, so what's interesting is when I saw the $20 million in signing bonuses, I actually thought of a different thing. What I thought about was back earlier in the offseason, like when it was still mostly seemed like they were going to trade him rather than sign him. One of the talking points coming out of that is that a lot of people seem to be of the mindset that he wanted to play for an American team. And I'm wondering if that the signing bonuses were how they kind of incentivized him to stay with on a Canadian team. Like if that played into it at all, because that could have been completely not mattered at all. That could have not mattered at all in the end of the day. But
it could be the same thing as the Canucks being like, oh, we're not like inclined to re-sign. It's just like all posturing. It could have been
bargaining. It totally could have been bargaining.
Any player can just be like, oh, you know what? I don't really like the Western Hemisphere. Like it doesn't mean anything. You just make up a bunch of bullshit. Like you like,
I really want to be closer to the ozone, or not the ozone, the equator.
The equator. Yeah. Like, oh, you know what? I have a cousin that lives in Albuquerque, and the closer I am to him, the better I'll play. Like you just make up crap, and like all these idiot GMs and owners are like, oh, well, I guess we're going to have to follow what he wants. I mean,
oh my God,
he's a big, smart guy and a good hockey player, and I fucking flunked out of high school 48 years ago, so I better listen to him. Like, goddamn, man. Like, why?
Excuse me. Peter Chiarelli went to Harvard.
He's a lawyer, okay?
He actually did go to
passed
Harvard.
The bar, all right?
Yeah.
Ugh. Honestly. Oh, I remembered what I said on C4, by the way, like, as we were talking. So, I said on C4... I brought up Jeff Skinner in Buffalo, where he hit 40 goals in his platform year, where he was basically an expiring UFA, and so the Buffalo, after seeing him hit 40 goals, paid out the ass for him 9 years, $8 million or whatever it was, and every year after, except this year, so 3 years or whatever it was, he was just like a 30-40 point guy, and so. That is like the death and taxes thing. It's like death, taxes, and players on expiring deals going ham to ensure their next big payday. Like Alex Biega had a career year in his final year as a Vancouver Canuck, so he could get paid in Detroit or wherever the fuck it was.
Bulldog.
And it worked. He got paid like $1 million something bucks. So good for him. But it is very much a hockey player thing to know that they're owed some money coming up and they overperform expectations. And so it feels like this Miller thing, there's a very good likelihood that now that he's secured the bag, just checks out. Just like, you know what? I got my power play time. I can be a left wing. I can be a center. I'll pivot. Maybe I'll back check. I don't know. Doesn't matter. They're not paying me for that. They're paying me for my power play points. And so long as I have that, the money's going to keep rolling. If I don't hit 99, oh, well, it's Canada, baby. I don't give a shit.
No.
Like that very well could happen. And this is Louis Eriksson 2.0.
Whoa, hold on. Louis Eriksson
won't ever
never hit 99 points.
No, it won't ever be that bad, but it'll be Louis Eriksson 2.0 in the fact that it's a giant deal to a forward that consistently underperforms its contract value.
Right.
I see what you're saying. If he so feels like, checking out, which, hey, if I was going to work tomorrow,
Columbus just by coasting in one shift, like that happened one time. That's not
if you were going to work tomorrow. If you were going to work tomorrow and you knew starting in January you were making $7 million a year for the full year, would you try at all for the next 5 months if you knew you weren't going anywhere?
It was guaranteed money,
guaranteed money, and you knew you could not be fired from now until then.
I mean, it would be like...
I would not try at all. And maybe that speaks to my work ethic, but if I had busted my ass for however many years in the NHL or any league, and then all of a sudden I knew I was getting money, there is a high likelihood that I am fucking checking out and coasting, baby, because I got paid what I was owed and all that hard work paid off. Like Rihanna, for example. Here, I'm gonna drop a music reference to you.
Oh God.
Rihanna, for example, dropped her last album in 2014 or something like that, maybe 2017.
Really?
It's a long time ago.
Did she really? Is that actually true? I didn't know that.
A really long time ago was her last album, and there were some bangers on it. She went on a world tour and then just stopped. She made a fuck ton of money, and she's got no incentive to come back.
And she appears on other people's albums now. Like,
I don't think she does anything.
Oh, she definitely has done some stuff since 2014. Like, she was on Drake. She's been on like Drake albums and stuff.
Yeah, in like 2017. That's my point. Is like since 2017, I'm pretty sure she hasn't done anything. She's got like her makeup or like clothing line, and that's it. So funny. She does not do music anymore. Funny. She's got paid, so she has no reason to do it. She's like, why would I exhaust myself on these tours if I don't need to? But anyway. Riley Minor, thanks for hanging out in the chat with us, but that fucking rules. I think the Skinner comparison is way more apt. He's probably fine, just like underperforms expectations because he hit a career at the right time.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, in defense of JT Miller, I honestly don't think he'd ever be the guy who would just like stop, like just coast after getting paid. Like, I do not think that's what his style at all. And like, I think that's very rare, even in hockey, to see a lot of guys do that. It's just, they just underperform. I think there's a big difference. I think there's definitely a difference on that. I just think, especially with the pressure that comes with playing in this market of like, hey, people will know, people would notice. People would notice. People would notice if you were doing that and call you on it. Like, it's not that kind of thing. I did want to point out, also friend of the show, Justin Morissette, saying Lachlan can't be upset. He has Miller's jersey hanging on the wall behind him. Yes, that is that's definitely a JT Miller jersey.
So we're clear. Lachlan clearly thought JT Miller was going to become a Buffalo Sabre at the end of
I thought he was going to become a goalie.
He's just going to completely change positions.
He's going to completely change positions.
He had reached out to Ian Clark at one point and it was like, so these 3 stances I'm hearing about, there's up, down, side to side. Is that all there is to it? Sign me up, baby. But no, Lachlan's a fucking goalie weirdo and has a Ryan Miller jersey.
Yes. It's not that weird considering he played for the damn Canucks. Like, that's not that weird. It's just weird that it's the Turdberger jersey, which is the worst Sabres jersey of all time.
Oh yeah, can we completely detour and talk about how the goat head jersey fucking rules?
Yes,
and it looks so damn good.
It looks fantastic. Ooh. I'm so excited for that they're bringing that back.
Look, I may be uncomfortable Vizzy's deep here, but I'm telling you, that Buffalo goat head jersey. Here's my other hot take. An aside to my aside of my aside. I have a feeling the Sabres are going to do the Los Angeles Kings of last year, and they're going to be like a playoff fringe, like second wild card type shit.
Sorry, who?
Just a hunch. The Sabres.
Really? That's
just a hunch because some of the players that they have in the AHL last year, like JJ Peterka and Jack Quinn, were like heavy above a point per game player in the AHL, and they were like if you're looking at like a chart of like points per game relative to their age, like they're just like off the charts relative to everyone else in their division. And it was a competitive division. Like they were just really fucking good. So there's like a good chance that they crack like a Buffalo Sabres lineup that, isn't that deep and probably needs like bodies available to them. And they just like outscore their problems, kind of like how Los Angeles doesn't really have the forward depth, but they had the offensive defensemen to overcome their injury woes that happened during the season. So just a hunch, Los Angeles will probably regress a bit and they won't make playoffs this year. So I think the loser bunch that like impress actually is the Buffalo Sabres, and it kills 10 years of misery, or 12 years now, I guess.
I think that I think their goal. Well, is Craig Anderson still the goaltender for them this year? Is that still the deal, or did they get somebody else now? I feel like they might have.
Still like Tokarski.
Yeah, it is. It is Craig Anderson and Eric Comrie.
Look, it's still like a bad goaltending situation. The defense sucks, and Kyle Okposo still has a year on his deal. Shout out to Okposo, who hit 30 goals last year, which fucking rules.
Oh my god, yeah, good for Kyle Okposo.
Like,
he had a terrible
all of his concussion issues over the last few years. Like that actually rules. Like really.
Oh yeah,
hard.
Riley Minor's bringing up Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen as well.
Yeah, UPL was really good in the AHL. I think they're kind of like waffling on him a bit because they were like he had like some pretty bad NHL numbers, but it was like again, it's Buffalo. Like, what do you expect, man? Like they like what's their GM's name?
Their GM is Kevin Adams.
Kevin Adams. So Kevin Adams, I'm sure he was like, oh, can't spend too hard on him. Like, he's not that good. And it's like, no, dude, your team's just really shit. Like, come on, man. Like, relax a bit.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Give him a chance.
And Craig Anderson is exactly the type of goaltender you want when you're a team that just needs a guy to just take 50 shots a night and win you a game 5-4. Like, that's literally how good. That's like Craig Anderson's whole thing is he's an insanely good like marathon goalie. I've never, like, he did it for Ottawa for years. I've never seen anything like it. He's just kind of he's a very rare breed in that sort of way as goaltenders go. So he could. I mean, you got to factor in, speaking of Ottawa, you got to factor in the fact that team's got Alex DeBrincat.
You got to factor their jerseys suck shit.
The jerseys are not okay. No. Those
They're
are good
garbage.
Jerseys.
Okay,
old ones were terrible. The ones that look like Leon Phaneuf on the front.
Their logo sucks.
The logo
jersey sucks. Everything about them sucks.
It's not the best, but it's not terrible. Come on.
Sucks.
They're getting a new arena.
Did you see that guy that replied to me when I was like, Ottawa jerseys belong in the trash? And he just like got really upset. He's like, unlike you fucking Canucks fans who belong in the basement. Like, he was just so mad.
It's okay.
And it's like,
that's a bit of an overreach. Okay.
I agree. Like, Canucks jerseys have never ever been good. Their best jersey is the one I'm wearing right now.
That one is pretty cool.
Shout out to the printing shop that gave me this for free, baby. Maybe it's Ottawa, Buffalo contending. Okay, now we're just getting blown up in the chat here from Riley and Justin. Shout out to you two for hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Watching me drink a bunch of Vizzies and talk out of my ass. That's really awesome.
I mean, that is what half this show is most of the time.
If you've never listened to the show, folks, it's mostly me just crushing a 12-pack of Vizzies as Lachlan grits through his teeth trying to rationalize the things I talk about.
I drink cold brew most of the time. I drink like that President's Choice Nitro cold brew. They still haven't hit me up for.
They say that's the Vizzy of caffeinated beverages.
That's right. I have heard that. I have seen that on their billboards. I think we could talk. We're gonna do more of an NHL preview show down the road, and we'll talk more about the Atlantic Division then. But like, I mean, Florida's going to take a big step back. It's going to be Tampa. The door is totally open for an Ottawa or a Buffalo to do something weird. Like, it's totally there for them.
Oh yeah. And if I'm betting, it's Buffalo. And don't ever take betting advice from me because I'm really bad at it. No, I haven't told anyone this, but I tried to make a 45-cent bet the other day.
Oh no.
I hope you're sitting down, folks. I thought I was making a 45-cent bet on like I only do 20 cents because like it's just like whatever. It's like you make 5 bets and like you're not really killing yourself if you lose. So I threw down what I thought was 45 cents on a parlay that I didn't think it was gonna win. It was like a Blue Jays.
For what though? Yeah.
It was like Blue Jays to win and then like an NFL game and like something else or whatever. And I don't know what happened, but I accidentally put $45 down.
Oh, buddy.
That disappeared real quick.
And of course you didn't win that bet.
Oh, absolutely not. Because like I said, you put 20 cents down on dumb parlays so that if one hits, you win quite a bit amount. Oh yeah.
Justin's asking, how many golfers did you bet on in the CP Women's Open? That's a great question.
I had 20 cents on 5 different golfers to be in the top 10. 5 of them were in the top 10 and all 5 of them dropped out.
Oh,
so I lost every single one. Yep.
What? Wait, like they dropped what? Like, what do you mean? Like they dropped out? Like, like you're talking, they just stopped playing? Like,
no.
What? Or they like missed the cut? Or like, what are we talking about?
I love that you have no idea how other sports work except
I don't.
Hockey.
What?
Maybe baseball a bit.
Like I have. Does my ADHD brain look like it can handle information from other sports? No, it can't. It can't, Cody.
So in golf, you can't have like 100 golfers golfing at once because that would not make sense.
Well, yeah,
so
they missed the cut. I know that much. I know you missed the cut if you're behind.
So basically, like you do your 18 holes. Like say you start at 7, and then you do your 3 hours of golfing, and then you end up like I'm a minus 13 on the weekend, and I'm in 3rd place. But everyone that starts at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., if they outperform you, you start dropping because like you're not as good. So I had a bunch of people that were in the top 10, and they were decent picks. Shout out to Danny Huntley, whose parlay betting advice failed me. And cost me thousands of dollars, a whole dollar in bets. Yeah. So, anyways, folks, when you make your bets on whatever site you use, make sure you put the decimal in the right spot, or you can make terrible, terrible decisions like myself, who make their account look pretty good, and suddenly not in a matter of seconds.
Or you can also do what I do, which is you can
bet.
You can bet in your mind, so you can just make a bet with yourself. It's like, and then you can be like, well, I didn't really care about winning anyway, and you could just and forget, and then you could just forget you made it, but also who cares?
I think I told you. Did I tell you? I can't remember. I think I put in our chat, or like our last episode. I was like, yeah, I threw $10 down on on what was it, the Flames to win the cup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
oh,
so
that's right.
Yeah, I put $10 on the win, and it's like,
why would you do that? I told you from the beginning that was a bad choice.
Because, well, I mean, it's probably going to be Colorado repeating.
Yeah,
don't you think?
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about this year. Actually, I think, because I remember you making the bet on Calgary during the playoffs, but
no, I didn't do that. I never did that. Oh yeah, actually I did. Sorry,
yes, you did.
I did. Totally I did for our brackets, but not betting. Betting's different.
Okay.
Betting is where Cody's brain melts out of his ears a bit, and he starts getting wild with it.
You turn into that guy. What was that show about the one detective that his whole it was like a cop show, but his whole bit was that he was really good at math and just didn't need a calculator for math. Like that was a show. That was a show, a short-lived like CBS show, I think. It's called like Numbers or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, but weren't they just a bunch of nerds? In like a nerd department of like the cops or whatever. Number. Oh yeah, Justin's got it. Justin's got it in the chat. It's numbers. Okay.
Yeah, it was like one guy. He's just like, no, my thing is I'm really good at math, and I can just do math. And I remember my math teacher showing us this in high school and being like, whoa, this is really dumb.
It's a cop show about numbers, and so
and it's spelled like that with the 3 as the E. It's so dumb.
So like he pulls someone over.
Can you believe it only lasted like one season?
Like he goes out and like he sees like his cop brothers like doing police brutality, and he just like throws a calculator at him or something. Like that's his contribution.
He walks in, he's like, guys, like, have you thought about fractions? Like,
yeah. He just starts beating the shit out of them with like math numbers, like that. That's
like
brutal.
Throws
an abacus at someone.
He puts up his protractor, freeze.
Yeah, that rule. He throws at him, hits in the eye. Just you flick it.
Yeah, that's how he stops people with like, I'm gonna use geometry, and he just throws like a trapezoid block like at them.
Oh hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It didn't work. Yeah.
Okay, this show sounds awesome.
Yeah.
All right, what Justin say? Your math teacher says it's like, just want you to know, I could be out there solving crap.
Yes, it is. That's exactly what it was.
Oh my god.
Yeah, God, you could do a whole tier list on like okay, cop shows are cop shows. They're all kind of the same, but then every now and then you get some weird ones that are worth laughing about. I also think this is probably means we're out of material, dude.
Let's talk about JT Miller's beard and his kid.
And his kid. Yes.
Yeah. Did you like my joke? I thought it was pretty good.
What did you? I think I missed it because again, I haven't been on Twitter. I literally just happened to check Twitter when the extension was announced. Like, no joke.
I was so bummed. I was ready to
Numbers got 5 seasons. Get out. That's insane.
Well, there's a lot of numbers to go through.
Oh, that's our next. That's going to be our next Patreon episode. I guess will be us talking about how we binge watch Numbers.
Our final episode, just recapping 98 episodes of Numbers.
Hell yeah, let's go. Yeah. Oh yeah, let's talk about. I guess that's a good way to wrap this up because so we're not going to talk about it too much right now because there's still stuff to figure out. But essentially, we're not going to be doing a lot of episodes down the line here, guys, because cool stuff. But for cool reasons. Let's put it that way. Cool reasons. I don't know how much I know you spilled it on C4. You spilled something.
Well, no, I didn't spill the reasons why. I just said, by the way, our show is not renewing for next year. We're being canceled by the powers that be because we are wanted elsewhere.
Oh my God,
David Krumholtz is the nerd.
Is that Bernard from the Santa Claus, and also from is that am I thinking of the right guy?
If I remember correctly, someone, my old neighbor. So this is rolling it back here. My neighbor in my first house was a extras casting director, and She was the one that casted me for John Tucker Must Die, my starring role, which I have tweeted about because I look like a star. My hair looks great. I didn't really talk to her all that much, but like when we did, like for whatever reason, like in the 8 seconds of talking with her, it was like, "Oh, what do you do?" She's like, "Oh, I'm a casting director for extras." I'm like, "Oh, cool." And then like instead of like talking about her job, she just immediately went, "Yeah, you know the Santa Claus? We dealt with David Krumholtz, and he's a piece of shit." I was like,
really?
All right.
Wow.
Cool.
She just brought that up like you didn't even
like,
mention it. She just was like ready to dish that information.
It had nothing to do with the conversation. It was just like David Krumholtz from whatever it was probably not the Santa Claus. It's probably some other movie or whatever, but it was just like,
well, that was right. That is him. Like that is him.
Yeah. She was just like, yeah, he sucks. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to go back to my grade 9 math homework.
He was also in 10 Things I Hate About You.
Well, I got 9. She had 9 things she hated about him. Let me tell you.
Wow, everybody! Wow, what a joke! What a card!
What a piece of shit. Anyway,
yeah, that's why we're not doing the show. You're going on stand-up tour.
I could not. Have you ever had someone? Have you ever had someone tell you should do stand-up?
I don't think anyone has ever told me that, and honestly, it's one of those things where like whenever somebody tells you that, most of the time. They're wrong.
Like, yes, I agree. She
had 11 things. That's right, Justin.
There was this guy in like my grade 9 social studies or whatever, and like I'm not that typically funny. Like I'm pretty good at like reacting to stuff with the jokes. And I was like, this is before Roxanne, so if Roxanne's listening, plug your ears because I don't want to offend you. But like I was hitting on a girl in the way that a 5'1" stocky. Nerdy funny kid can, and it's going all right, and this guy chimes in from like 3 desks away and he's like, "Hey, you're pretty funny, you should be doing stand-up, tell us some more jokes."
Oh, that's the kiss.
And I was like,
the second they say be funny, like say something funny,
the funny,
that's a kiss of death. Absolutely.
It absolutely was. And I think instead of being 5'1", I shrunk a bit shorter to 5 feet tall, and that at that age, that's just rough. That's just tough for all of us, So anyways, folks,
let's wrap this up.
Let's probably wrap this up because we're clearly
I got a dog to pick up pretty quick here too.
And we've got nothing else to say about JT Miller. I'm sure Roxy Fever or the Broadcast or any of your favorite podcasts. Canucks Combo isn't gonna have shit to say. Are you kidding me?
On Convo, yeah.
David Quadrelli isn't going to have shit to say. Chris Faber's just going to be like, how does this affect Vasily Podkolzin? They got nothing on this podcast. Are you kidding me? All they've got is a Rolodex of players from Northeastern University. All right? They got nothing on CreaseCast, bitch. All right.
Faber's too busy planning his next Whitecaps game.
Yeah. Oops. I found out we've been fired from Canucks Army.
Oh, we've both been fired. Yeah.
I got you fired, bud. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, jeez, you got me fired too. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's back to the cellar for me.
Back to the old cracker factory for us. Anyways, folks, if you like this episode, don't get too excited and follow us, but we will have a final episode kind of soon.
We'll have something before the start of the season for sure.
Yes, and we'll have a season preview where we talk a bit heavier about hockey.
Yeah, and we'll talk about other stuff other stuff in terms of why we're not going to be doing episodes this year. And I'll say this, I'm still looking at some ways that maybe we'll keep the channel not just completely dormant over the next season, it'll be not podcasting necessarily. And who knows, if there's another JT Miller extension, maybe we'll do something for that. You never know.
They love his first few months. They're like, you know what? Let's extend him till he's 40.
Is that even legal? Could you do that in theory? Could you stack an extent? No, because you can't. Because you're not allowed to negotiate the next extension until a year from it expiring.
Let's ask Chris Gear because he has some terrible opinions and decision making. So maybe he has more to say about this than we do.
Does he technically write for for Face?
I think he does actually. I should probably watch what I'm saying.
I was gonna say that's why I've not said much on Tim Peel because as much as that guy has some dumb things to say.
If anyone came back and was like, why are you insulting Nation Network contributor Chris Gear? I would be like, have you heard all the Vizzies being cracked? Okay, my opinions don't matter. And I'm pretty sure if I remember my true detective knowledge is the more you drink while you talk, the less admissible it is. So technically what I'm doing is okay.
All
I
right.
think I hear Roxy coming home. So anyways,
all
folks,
right.
thanks for tuning in
Follow
to
us
this
on
live reaction.
Twitter.
Follow us on Twitter, even though it doesn't really matter. But if you follow us on our
They can
personal
follow our
Twitters,
normal accounts. Yeah.
Yeah. So you follow me at Cody Sievertson on Twitter. Lachlan, where can they find you?
You can find me at Lock in the Crease on Twitter. You can also find my writing at Canucks Army. I've wrote already 2 articles this week. One on Alex Chason and still wanting to play in the NHL, and also one on Spencer Martin coming back for some early skates with the Canucks this week as well. So go check that out.
Well, folks, this was fun. I know like the last 25 to 35, 40 minutes hasn't really been about hockey at all, but we had a good time.
Way, baby.
That's CreaseCast way, and that's how much we really don't care about JT Miller or his extension.
Well, it matters. I mean, it matters.
Yeah, but the next 8 years would be so miserable. So it's just
you know what? Let's end on a nice note here. They will be interesting and entertaining. We can 100% say with 100% certainty that they're going to be entertaining at the very least.
We'll tie this in with the name of every single cap-friendly GM or make a GM team that I create. You have to name your teams when you're fucking around.
Yeah. Oh no.
The Vancouver Canucks are certainly a hockey team, and with that, thanks, folks, for tuning into this live reaction episode. Love you so much, physically and mentally, and we will see you sometime soon down the road. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.